The Florida sun was merciless that afternoon, casting sharp shadows across the polished asphalt of the waterfront parking lot. A crowd had gathered near a gleaming black Escalade where NFL legend Tom Brady was preparing to leave a charity event. Camera flashes popped, reporters jostled, fans shouted for autographs. Everything seemed perfectly normal, until a shrill, desperate voice cut through the noise. "Don't get in that car!" Heads turned. A boy, barely a teenager, was sprinting across the street, dodging traffic, sweat soaking through his tattered hoodie. His sneakers slapped the pavement, his wide eyes locked on Tom. "Please, the brakes! She cut the brakes!" Tom froze, one hand on the driver's side door. For a split second, silence dropped over the scene like a curtain. Then came the murmurs, the phones raised higher, the disbelief. If this shocking moment caught you off guard, make sure to subscribe for more real-life thrillers and unexpected twists. Security surged forward. The kid, wiry, frantic, skidded to a stop just short of Tom, gasping for air, his voice cracking from urgency. "She's trying to kill you, man. Your wife, she paid a guy, I heard it, everything." Tom took a step back. His first instinct was to dismiss it, to assume it was a hoax or a prank. But there was something in the kid's face that struck deeper than the chaos around him. Fear, raw, genuine, the kind of fear you don't fake, and something else. A haunted familiarity in his eyes. "What's your name?" Tom asked cautiously. "Jaden," the boy whispered. "Please, just don't get in the car." Security pulled Jaden back gently but firmly. Reporters shouted questions, cameras zoomed in. "Mr. Brady, is this true? Who is this kid? Did your wife really sabotage the vehicle?" Tom raised a hand, calming the crowd. He looked at the SUV, then at Jaden again. A knot formed in his chest. He didn't know this boy, but something told him this wasn't a stunt. Minutes later, Tom made a quiet call to his assistant. "I'm not driving. Get the car checked, quietly." The SUV was taken to a private garage under armed escort. Jaden sat nearby, legs bouncing, nerves frayed. "I heard her in an alley," he said, talking to a guy with grease on his hands. "She was laughing like it was a joke. Said she wanted to end it quietly, no mess. I didn't know who she was until I saw her photo online. Then I saw your car on the news just now. I had to run." Tom studied him. "Why would you risk so much for someone you don't know?" Jaden hesitated. "Because my mom died like that. Someone messed with her car. No one believed me. I couldn't save her." That sentence hit Tom harder than any tackle he'd ever taken. The boy's voice, full of pain and conviction, dug deep. Tom nodded slowly. "All right, Jaden, you did the right thing. Let's find out the truth." He didn't know it yet, but that moment, standing in the heat of a Tampa parking lot with a street kid who should have been invisible, was the beginning of something that would shake his world to its core. Later that evening, the Escalade sat in the shadows of a discreet, high-security garage on the outskirts of Tampa. The mechanics were hand-picked, veterans in automotive forensics, trusted by Tom's inner circle for years. Under the floodlights, they began to dismantle the vehicle inch by inch. Back at Tom's estate, Jaden sat awkwardly on a leather couch, flinching every time his phone buzzed with news alerts about the scene earlier that day. He glanced around, overwhelmed by the opulence, the marble floors, polished wood, silent security guards at each door. He didn't belong here. Tom sat across from him, calm but alert. "Tell me everything, from the beginning." Jaden nodded, nervously rubbing his palms together. "I sleep behind a diner on Monroe. Tuesday night I was digging through trash for food when I heard voices. A woman and a guy, they were arguing, then laughing. She said she'd pay double if no one suspected a thing. The guy asked about tools, and she said something like, 'Just clip the lines. He won't know until it's too late.'" Tom's jaw tightened. "And you're sure it was her?" Jaden pulled out a cracked smartphone, scrolling quickly. He held it up. "I saw her face in this article. It's her." "I didn't know it was your wife until that moment." The name, Giselle, was like a knife through his ribs. They'd divorced quietly months ago, officially over irreconcilable differences, but the truth was heavier. Financial stress, control battles, and long absences had poisoned the marriage. Still, she'd always been an excellent actress in public, smiling for cameras, championing charities. Could this really be possible? Tom's assistant walked in with a grim expression. "You need to see this." They headed to a private study where a video played from a hidden camera inside the Escalade. At first glance, nothing looked off, until one of the techs paused the footage and zoomed into a bundle of wires under the dashboard. "That's a surveillance unit," he said. "Audio and GPS tracking. Professionally installed, but illegally so." Jaden leaned forward. "I told you, she's watching you." Tom said nothing. The camera tech continued. "But that's not all. The brake lines were weakened, cut partially, enough to fail under sudden pressure." A chill ran through the room. Tom's private security team moved swiftly, contacting a retired detective named Ray Mendez, now working freelance for high-profile clients. Ray was known for his methodical mind and cold detachment. After inspecting the garage report, he gave Tom a curt nod. "You were targeted. This wasn't vandalism, it was planned." Jaden sat still, barely breathing. "Why me?" Tom whispered. "Why would she—" Ray looked him dead in the eyes. "You've got a $120 million insurance policy. Half still covers her. If your death looks accidental, she gets everything." Tom slumped into a chair. This was no longer a theory. It was a plot. Jaden finally spoke, voice low. "She's not gonna stop." Tom looked at him, this ragged kid who had nothing yet risked everything. "You saved my life." Jaden shrugged. "I just didn't want another car crash to go unnoticed." A beat of silence. Then Tom made a decision. "You'll stay here tonight," he said. "We're going to find out how deep this goes." And as Jaden looked around at the mansion that wasn't his home, he realized he'd just stepped into a world darker and more dangerous than he'd ever known. Tom's estate transformed overnight. The once tranquil halls now buzzed with low voices, encrypted calls, and shadowy movements. Private investigators worked alongside cybersecurity experts, combing through every digital footprint Giselle had left over the past 6 months. Meanwhile, Jaden found himself in a place he never imagined, Tom Brady's guest house. It wasn't just a room. It was a fully furnished mini-home with soft bedding, a stocked fridge, and security at the door. At first, he didn't sleep. He couldn't. Too many nights on hard concrete had trained his body not to trust comfort. Tom visited the next morning, bringing 2 smoothies and a quiet smile. "Figured you'd like blueberry." Jaden sipped it cautiously, then nodded. "Thanks." They sat outside, sunlight streaking through palm leaves. The silence was comfortable until Tom broke it. "Why did you run across that street, Jaden? You could have been hit, killed." Jaden stared at his sneakers. "Because no one ran for my mom, and I couldn't live with that again." The simplicity of his words struck Tom harder than any tabloid headline ever had. That day, Tom's security team uncovered disturbing clues. Surveillance footage near the alley Jaden mentioned showed Giselle entering a small auto shop the night before the charity event. She wore a hoodie, sunglasses, and carried an envelope. The shop's owner, Raul Mendoza, known for backdoor deals and off-the-books modifications. But when investigators arrived to question him, they found the garage abandoned. Raul was gone. Later that evening, another shock. Ray Mendez, the detective, appeared grim. "We found Mendoza, dead, car crash, off a bridge." Tom's breath caught. "Was it really an accident?" Ray shook his head. "Too clean. No brake marks, no panic in the footage. It's staged." Jaden's face paled. The only clue left behind was a single frame from a nearby gas station camera. A woman in a scarf filling a red jerry can. From behind, she resembled Giselle. The timestamp matched the night Mendoza disappeared. Tom paced the room. "She's gone this far. She's not going to stop now." Ray added, "She's also been accessing your bank records. A new trust account was opened in the Cayman Islands 2 weeks ago, using your name with forged signatures." The walls were closing in. Everything pointed to a long-standing scheme: financial theft, insurance fraud, and now attempted murder, all orchestrated by someone Tom once loved. He looked to Jaden. "You're in danger too. If she knows you saw her, "I'm not scared of her," Jaden said, though his hands trembled. "She's scared of being caught. That's why she's killing people." Tom nodded slowly. "Then we make her believe she's won, and bring her down." They set a trap. A fake news leak would hint that Tom had decided to drive the Escalade to a charity gala next Friday. They'd stage it like he was back to normal, trying to move past the scare. Jaden would help place surveillance gear inside and around the vehicle. They'd capture everything, every text, every movement, every whisper. Tom would bait the hook. Giselle, if she really wanted him gone, would make a move, and this time they'd be ready. Friday night arrived under a sky heavy with clouds, as if the heavens themselves were holding their breath. The charity gala was in full swing at a luxurious downtown hotel, glittering with A-listers, reporters, and flashing lights. But backstage, Tom Brady was preparing for a different kind of performance. He stood in front of a mirror, adjusting his tie, his jaw tight with focus. This wasn't just about catching a criminal. It was about protecting his children, his name, his future. And none of this would have happened if a street kid hadn't shouted his warning at just the right moment. In the guest house, Jaden worked with Ray Mendez and two techs, syncing the cameras and mics planted in the Escalade. The SUV was parked in full view, looking untouched. But inside it was wired to record every sound, every signal. "Are you sure she'll bite?" Jaden asked. Ray nodded. The leak worked. Her assistant booked a last-minute flight out of Miami tonight. If she's making a run, it means she thinks tonight's the last move. Tom's role was simple. Walk out of the gala, smile for the cameras, and pretend to get into the car. The rest would fall into place. And it did. At precisely 9:37 p.m., Giselle emerged from the crowd near the valet stand. She wore a diamond-studded gown and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. From across the street, a camera caught her raising her phone. A text sent, "It's done." Seconds later, she turned calmly, ready to walk back inside. But instead of the roar of an engine or the squeal of tires, she heard footsteps, rapid, coordinated, then voices. "Giselle Bündchen, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder and attempted vehicular homicide." Her face paled as agents swarmed, cuffing her wrists with quiet efficiency. Paparazzi gasped. Phones flew into the air, some screamed, others simply stared. Tom stood just steps away, watching her without blinking. He didn't say a word. Back at the guest house, Jaden watched it unfold on a live feed. And then he cried, not from fear or relief, but from something deeper. For the first time in his life, the system had worked because he spoke up. A few hours later, the footage was reviewed by law enforcement. Giselle's text messages, her digital fingerprint on the forged insurance documents, and a recorded phone call she made earlier that week, confirming the plan was still on. She'd wanted it to look like an accident, a tragic loss, and she would have walked away a very rich widow. Instead, she was in handcuffs. Tom returned home exhausted, but alive. He walked out to the patio where Jaden sat, knees pulled to his chest, still processing. "She's gone," Tom said quietly. Jaden nodded, wiping his eyes with the sleeve of his hoodie. "Good." They sat in silence, both shaken by the intensity of the past few days. Finally, Tom broke it with a question. "What would you say to sticking around here a bit longer?" Jaden looked up. "For real?" Tom smiled. "For real, you've got guts, kid, and heart." And for the first time since his mother died, Jaden felt something he hadn't felt in years. Safe. The headlines were everywhere the next morning. Giselle Bündchen, arrested in shocking plot against Tom Brady. Street kid saves NFL legend from sabotage murder attempt. Brady breaks silence, I owe him my life. News vans camped outside Tom Brady's estate. Fans gathered by the gates holding signs, some in support, others in stunned disbelief. But inside the compound, something far quieter was happening. Healing. Jaden walked slowly through the garden near the guest house, wearing a new pair of sneakers Tom had left for him with a note. "Every runner needs good shoes." He stopped at a small memorial fountain, its gentle trickle breaking the silence. In his hands, a crumpled photo of his mother, the only one he had left. He whispered softly, "I did it, Mom. I stopped it this time. Tom watched from the distance, giving the boy space. After a few minutes, he approached, hands in his pockets. "I spoke to my lawyer. If you're open to it, we can work something out, officially." Jaden's eyes widened. "Like adoption?" "Maybe," Tom said carefully. "Or guardianship for now, whatever makes you comfortable." Jaden didn't respond immediately. His whole life had been rejection after rejection, people making promises then disappearing. But Tom hadn't disappeared. He stayed. He listened. "I'd like that," Jaden finally said, "but only if I can still call you Tom." Tom chuckled. "Deal." As the days passed, the story of what happened spread beyond football circles. Interviews, documentaries, tributes. But Tom declined most of them. He didn't want a media circus. He wanted change. A month later, he announced the launch of the Jaden Foundation, dedicated to helping homeless and at-risk youth across America. The opening press conference was short, but powerful. Every child deserves to be heard. And sometimes the person you least expect might be the one who saves you. Jaden stood beside him in a clean hoodie and fitted jeans, still awkward in front of cameras, but smiling. The world watched, and, for once, believed. One evening, back at the house, Jaden asked a quiet question. "Do you think she ever loved you?" Tom paused, considering. Maybe, in her way, but love without respect is just control. Jaden nodded. "Yeah, I know that feeling." They didn't talk about Giselle much after that. Her case was ongoing, her lawyers spinning narratives, but the evidence was overwhelming. She wouldn't be walking free anytime soon. Instead, Tom focused on the future: football camps, foundation events, a new book deal. And Jaden? He enrolled in school for the first time in years. He struggled at first, but Tom was patient. Tutors helped. And little by little, the boy who once lived in shadows started to believe he had a future worth chasing. One night, as they sat watching an old Patriots game, Jaden turned to Tom and asked, "Do you miss it? Football?" Tom smiled. "Not as much as I thought. I found something better." Jaden raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" Tom looked at him. "Purpose." The boy grinned. Cheesy but solid. They laughed, the kind of laugh that echoes from survival, from shared battles, from finding light in the dark. And as the screen faded to black, a final message appeared. If this unbelievable story gripped you, don't forget to subscribe and click the next video on screen to discover what happened the night after Giselle's arrest. You won't believe it.